The word love is so misused in today's world because everyone thinks that you can just so easily just fall into love nowadays just because the world is telling you that's the way it happens. If you can easily fall in love, then you can super easily fall out of love. And that's why so many different relationships just don't work anymore nowadays. And we have a huge problem with dating in today's world because all of these people don't realize what love actually is. And I'm going to hit on a few different points real quick in this video. For one, I guess just for instance, there's a brain function. Like there's just this fact that there is this brain function that when people get into a new relationship, it kicks in this lust desire for that person. It basically like creates this void and creates this desire for someone to want more and more attention and physical attention from them, affection from them. It's essentially called like the butterfly stage that you hear a lot about. You know, it's within that first 3 to 5 months creates this strong physical desire to be around that person. The problem is, as soon as that fades, the veil is like pulled off of these people's eyes. Like all of these young kids that are going in and like starting to date people, and then after the first 3 or 5 months, they're like, oh, well, it's time to start dating somebody else just because I don't feel the same way anymore. When the world is telling you that like, oh, well, you fall into love, and they think that this brain function of this butterfly stage is love, they're completely wrong. And as soon as that veil lifts past their eyes after the 3 to 5 months that this desire has gone away, that's when you start to see people actually realizing that, you know, they're not actually in love with this person like they think they were. And all these doubts creep into their minds, like, do I actually like this person? Am I in love with them? Or is it just the feeling that they gave me in this butterfly stage? The thing is, though, like, even after those doubts start seeping into your mind, these kids are, you know, you're telling yourself and these lies to keep getting the things that you want. Like, even though you truly don't actually love or want to be with this person anymore, essentially what happens is like men will trade emotional affection for physical touch, physical affection, while women will trade that physical affection that the men want for an emotional time, an emotional quality time and affection from them. So essentially, like, you really can fall in love just as easily as like you can fall out of love in just a few months, because it's not true love. It's not what it actually is. The world today is telling you that you can just go about doing this thing and eventually like essentially trip into love. But that's why you can't just rely on this butterfly feeling that you get when you first start dating someone in the first couple months. Obviously, you have to be physically attracted to the other person, but love, like that's actual love, is not just a feeling. It's a choice. It's a choice that you constantly make every single day. It's a choice that you're willing to put others or the other person's needs and wants in front of your own. That you're willing to be a selfless human being for the betterment of the other and for the betterment of the relationship itself. The problem is that can create a lot of different conflict, because if the other person isn't doing the same thing, then and is not being essentially isn't on the same page as you, and you guys both aren't acting in this selfless way, you can run into a lot of problems. Speaking of conflict, though, while you're in a relationship, it is super easy to blame anything or anyone else for the problems and conflicts that you're having. Every time that you shift the blame and you don't take responsibility for the circumstances that are happening, you build this wall of excuses. You build this giant, like, I'm going to hide behind this. Oh, well, that's happening, so, like, let me make another excuse. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and as you're constantly hiding behind it, it's just not good, essentially, for any type of relationship. Because especially if you plan on marrying this person. Taking responsibility and having the humility to self-assess is very, very hard. But it's the only way that a relationship can grow past the problems and conflicts. Speaking of like wanting to marry that person, you know, that should be the main reason why you are going to be dating someone. But that in of itself is like just a big whole different conversation. But pretty much, like, just to recap everything, don't rely on this butterfly stage that is these good feelings that you feel when you first start dating someone, to think that they're the one and you think that that's love, because it's not. Love is a choice. It's a daily choice that you make every single day to put that other person in front of you, and you guys both have to be making those choices. You don't want to be hiding behind excuses, that wall of excuses that you make. You essentially have to have the humility to self-assess, figure out what is going on, why it's happening, which is very, very hard to do because a lot of people don't want to admit that they're doing something wrong, and you have to have the humility and not be stubborn and know that, okay, if something is going wrong, there's obviously something I can do. That's like 99% of the time. There's this book that I read from, I forget exactly who wrote it, but in the book it said that every single marriage problem is a you problem. Now that ties into a lot of how you react to situations, how you respond to any type of situation or problem, but that's talking about marriage. We're just talking about dating right now. But hey guys, keep in mind this is not for someone that just wants to go about and chase that butterfly stage and that butterfly feeling of hopping into a different relationship every 3 to 5 months. This is for someone that's looking for how to make sure they don't fall into that trap of finding and having to get a new relationship every 3 to 5 months because they think that this feeling of love, which is actually just that butterfly stage, is what love actually is. But yeah, seek first to understand before being understood. Later, guys.